You've driven on an interstate highway, merged into a lane, passed under a bridge, take an exit ramp. But have you ever asked yourself why the lane is exactly 12 feet wide? Why does every overpass in the country have almost the same clearance? Why do the ramps all curve at roughly the same angle? Those dimensions weren't picked at random. They were built around the body of a single vehicle. And that vehicle isn't a car, it's a semi-trailer. The same box on wheels you see rumbling past you on the highway every single day. The American Interstate Highway System cost $114 billion to build, over $600 billion in today's money. And every bridge, lane, and cloverleaf interchange across 47,000 miles of road was physically designed to fit one machine's exact measurements. The height of the trailer set the height of the bridges. The width of the trailer set the width of the lanes. The turning radius of a loaded truck sets the curve of every exit ramp. The story doesn't start with a highway. It starts with a blacksmith, a boat, and a voided warranty, and it led through a military disaster so bad it changed the mind of a future president. By the end of this, you'll understand why you've been living inside a system built around one vehicle your entire life and never noticed it. But let's start with what everyone gets wrong about why the interstates were built in the first place. Ask anyone and you'll get the same answer. Defense. Eisenhower saw the German Autobahn during World War II and wanted one for the United States. That answer is partially right, but it misses the most important piece. The real origin isn't 1945, and it isn't Germany. It's 1919, and it's the worst road trip in American military history. That summer, a 28-year-old Army officer named Dwight Eisenhower volunteered for a cross-country convoy. 81 vehicles attempting to drive from Washington, D.C. to San Francisco. What he learned was that America's roads were a catastrophe. The convoy averaged 6 miles an hour. 6! It took 62 days to cover 3,251 miles. In Nebraska, trucks floundered in sand so deep the wheels disappeared. In Utah, a 200-yard stretch of quicksand took 7 hours to cross. Bridges collapsed under the weight of the trucks. Covered bridges were too low for the vehicles to pass through. The War Department concluded, in the actual language of the report, that America's roads were absolutely incapable of meeting the present-day traffic requirements. But here's what nobody connects. The vehicles that couldn't fit under those bridges, that sank in that sand, they weren't sedans. They were military trucks, early versions of the same tractor-trailer that a Detroit blacksmith named August Frohoff had invented just 5 years earlier. Frohoff built the first semi-trailer in 1914 to haul a lumber tycoon's boat behind a Ford Model T. Henry Ford responded by canceling the warranty on the car. The 1919 convoy wasn't just a road test, it was the first time the semi-trailer met America's roads, at scale, and America's roads lost. That disaster sat in Eisenhower's memory for 37 years. He later wrote that the old convoy had started him thinking about the wisdom of broader ribbons across the land. But knowing the roads were inadequate doesn't explain why the new roads were built to those exact dimensions. And this is where it gets genuinely strange. The Interstate Highway System wasn't designed and then opened to trucks. It was designed around the truck. A standard semi-trailer stands 13 feet 6 inches tall. The Federal Highway Administration requires every overpass to clear at least 14 feet. That 6-inch margin is the bare minimum between a loaded trailer and a concrete bridge deck. The bridge height exists because the truck height exists. A standard semi-trailer is 8 feet 6 inches wide. A highway lane is 12 feet. The lane was engineered to hold the truck with enough clearance for two to pass side by side at highway speed. But it goes further than height and width. The radius of exit ramp curves, the banking angle of cloverleaf interchanges, the length of acceleration lanes, all calibrated to how a 70-foot, 80,000-pound tractor-trailer combination turns, brakes, and accelerates. Every curve on every interstate bends the way it does because of how a semi-trailer handles its speed. And this wasn't optional. In 1982, the Surface Transportation Assistance Act established a national network of 209,000 miles of highway where states must allow trucks meeting federal size standards. States cannot refuse access. They cannot set lower limits. The federal government built roads to truck specifications and then required every state in the country to comply. The American Trucking Association sat at the negotiating table during every round of highway legislation. The Teamsters Union president himself sat on the federal committee that recommended the construction plan. The highway system isn't a road network that happens to carry trucks. It's a truck network that happens to let you drive on it. But the semi-trailer didn't just shape the roads, it shaped where Americans live. Before the interstate, American life was organized around railroads. If you wanted goods delivered to your town needed a rail depot. Factories located near rail lines. Towns formed around stations. The semi-trailer broke that equation. A train delivers freight to a station. A truck delivers freight to any address with a paved road. Once the interstate connected every major city with truck-grade highways, the geographic logic of American commerce inverted. Manufacturers could build wherever land was cheap. Retailers could open stores in suburbs. Shopping malls appeared at highway interchanges. McDonald's, Holiday Inn, Howard Johnson. They flourished because the semi-trailer made the new geography work. And here's the irony nobody knows. The railroads helped cause their own replacement. In the early 1900s, the railroad industry supported the good roads movement, the push for better highways, thinking improved local roads would help farmers reach rail depots faster. Instead, trucks used those roads to steal the railroad's freight business entirely. By the time railroads tried to oppose the 1956 Highway Act, the program was too popular to stop. Today, trucks carry roughly 73% of all American freight by value. That's $906 billion a year. Rail costs about 5 cents per ton mile. Trucking costs 16, 3 times more expensive, and it still wins because the truck delivers to your door and the train delivers to a depot. The American suburb, the strip mall, the big box store, these aren't products of car culture. They're products of truck culture. That lane you merged into this morning, 12 feet wide measured from the body of a semi-trailer. That bridge you drove under, 14 feet of clearance set by the height of a loaded trailer. The exit ramp you took, its curve calculated for an 80,000-pound truck. You drove it in a sedan, but the road was built for the trailer. The grocery store in your suburb exists because the interstate made suburban supply chains possible. The bananas on your counter in January rode in a refrigerated trailer from a port, up an interstate into a distribution center, onto another trailer, into your store. Every mile on a road calibrated to the vehicle carrying them. You pulled onto that highway thinking you were driving on a road. What you were actually driving on was a 47,000-mile system built to the exact height, width, weight limit, and turning radius of a semi-trailer. A blacksmith built the first one in 1914 to haul a boat. A military convoy in 1919 proved the roads couldn't handle it. A future president who rode in that convoy remembered the disaster for 37 years and spent $114 billion building roads that could. You're not just looking at a highway, you're looking at a 47,000-mile container designed around the body of the machine that feeds your family. And if you think the semi-trailer reshaped the country, wait until we get into what the shipping container did to every port on Earth.